So hello. Now, Hugh, I don't know if you want to kind of text anybody back who was letting you know that it had fallen down. We have gone live again now, but it's a separate stream, so it may not be the same link. You may have to find it on the same channel on YouTube. We've got another player lying on the floor. Tiny is now down on his back. That sort of seems to be a real disaster. This is not how we wanted the second half of the game to start at all. We've already had Phil Daniels off injured. Gerald has scored 2 off the first ball of the 6th over from Marcus, and then we've had a dot, and Tiny is down, so he may have been struck by the ball, but Dan now looking anxiously at him, and everybody at the ground obviously can hear us. So if you are listening at the ground, and
I'll just go there, just so I can text the people back.
Yeah. So while this injury continues, we will see what we can do to make sure that people can follow us. So Marcus Kipling eventually bowling again to Gerald, wide outside off stump, reversed down to third man, fielded by Matt Greenhoff, thrown into Simon for 1 run. And that's bowling to Adam, wide outside leg stump, and a no ball. it fills round. It's 24 for 1 off 6, and we'll try and keep normal commentary now for those of you on the ground, and get back to seeing if there is anybody who's able to kind of catch us up on YouTube. Somebody has joined. Excellent. If you joined and you kind of got some contacts who you think might have been listening, then do let them know what the new link is, because hopefully then others will be able to follow along as well. Sorry for this falling over less than ideal. Anyway, there's a change of bowler at the Hugh Spence end. Ian Morris is on and bowling, and Gerald chases one on the leg side. A fumble in the field. It's just kept in by Marcus Kipling down here in front of us, and he's supported by Callum Weir, who throws it in, and there's 2 runs. That was a bit leg side. Gerald got it down towards wide, fine leg, where Marcus Kipling was fielding close to the boundary. It nearly eluded him. He was just able to save it. This again, similar delivery, and given as a no ball. So not the greatest start. And this one is hit by Gerald, out to square leg, fielded by Callum, thrown in, and 1 run scored to bring the total to 28. Gerald has got 18 off 18. Adam Solon has got 2 off 21. And just to remind people, he has burned 1 life on LBW, that he's been trapped once, and he swings this to the leg side, but hits it straight to Mark Oliphant, who's now fielding on the leg side. Dave Daniels on the off side with tiny bowling. Okay. And this is through mid-on, or it's down to mid-on. It's fielded by Toby Collins. No run is taken. Ball's handed back to Ian, who obviously has recovered from his injury, whereas I don't think Dave Daniels has. It has been signalled wide. It looked fairly wide outside leg stump. It's now been signalled as a wide. That's also wideish outside off stump, missed by Adam, fielded by Simon. Going back, that's Alistair Worsley, I think, who's come on in place of Phil Daniels. This is top edged by Adam, up into the air. Simon got fingertips to it, couldn't hang on to the catch. So a dot ball. It's 29 for 1 off 7, and we've now got 3 people listening again. Thank you very much to those of you who've managed to reconnect, and apologies that we managed to lose the audio. It's really annoying that YouTube will lose the audio and you don't know. You know it's still working because the video stays up, but you just don't know if it's decided to stop sending audio. Anyway, Dave Daniels on from the pavilion end in front of us with his left arm raised, ready to start bowling. Dave is another totally blind player, as you will have known from listening at the beginning. That is wideish outside off stump, thumped by Gerald. It goes into Mark Oliphant's shins, and then runs down parallel to the pitch. Is tied up by Alistair Worsley, and there's no run. Marginal might almost have been kind of wide if Gerald had let that go, but he decided to to give it a whack and only found Mark Oliphant's shins, so he'll be a little bit disappointed with that. This one is wide outside off stump. He does manage to drive that slightly uppishly through the covers. Mark Bond and Alistair Worsley both after it. Neither of them could kind of quite catch it, and that's another boundary to Gerald, who moves on to 22 with his third boundary. So he's certainly giving it a good go in this chase. Gerald had 150 runs for Northants this season before today, and now he reverses square on the offside. Mark Bond runs across to field. There wasn't as much power in that, so I don't think it was going to reach the boundary. It's relatively easy for Mark to cut it off, but they've run through for 2. Field resetting. Outside off stump, straight down the pitch. Alistair Worsley will cut that off relatively easily, though. He does. Danfield runs in to collect a perhaps slightly wild throw. It's one run to Gerald. It brings Adam to face Dave for the first time. David Howes guides him in to the stumps. Walks out to his position as a runner. Adam swirling the bat in his hand and continues to gust across the square, and I think that's partly why that one's gone wide outside the off stump. I think we've been saying all day that it is fairly windy. We established from the umpires that it is definitely breezy and gusty out in the middle, and bowling from this end, the wind is going from right to left, so it goes outside the right-hander's off stump with the wind. So Dave corrects, and this one just goes behind Adam's legs, fielded by Simon, thrown back to Dave. We've nearly reached the end of the 8th over. Dave lines himself up again. And that one, oh, that was close. I think, well, Simon Ledwith certainly thought that he'd taken that right on the line and it was a good ball, because he put it down and got ready for the next over to start, and the umpire signalled wide. So it is wide, and well, that's definitely a wide then. Even Simon knows that's a wide. He's just thrown it back. He hasn't kind of put it down, waiting for the next over to start. And 7 people, excellent. And Chris, yes, apologies, and glad that you're able to find the commentary again. Yes, I must work out how you can try and beat this problem with YouTube. Anyway, that was wide outside Adam's leg stump, so Dave having to plug away. Oh, and sadly that's another one. So really not what's wanted. 4 in a row. 5 in the over. So it's very interesting that Dave and Mark Turnham have both struggled today. Yes, close, but another one. It's really difficult. That the first wide of this sequence was really kind of quite tight. Simon Ledwith certainly thought it wasn't a wide. It looked very marginal from up here, but since then they have all been clearly wide. It's difficult. But this is a straight one. This is straight. It's hit. It's caught behind. So success at last. String of wides and then caught behind. Adam Solon is out. It's 42 for 1. That's the end of the 8th over. And with 7 people back listening, it's time for a word from. Go.
Yeah, and I was just about to say it's been a very bitty start. Obviously with a couple of injuries, all of that lot. But yeah, just before the end of that over, Adam Solon out, and just on Mark and Dave Daniel, both excellent totally blind players, but they are struggling with the ball today. It could be because it's windy, but with Adam being out, I think that may bring David to the crease. So this is a really important partnership because after these two, it's Asif Ali, and then it goes into the lower order. So this game is still 50-50 on a knife edge. And yeah, again, thank you all for you joining us again. And I hope everyone who was listening is back. If not, please share that link. Thank you.
And Hugh obviously knows what's going on. David Howells has come in at 4. So no runners out there now. Tony's ready to bowl the 9th over. Umpire at the far end just making a couple of little marks on his card. It's straight. Gerald shaped to have a huge hit and then just gently tickled it very gently square, going nearly nowhere. Simon ran out to field the ball. David Howells was sprinting down to get one, and Gerald was quick enough to get himself in at the other end. So David Howells obviously decided he'd quite like to have a look at Tyler's bowling from the striker's end. Let's see what he makes of it. Well, he gets a very strong hit in first ball. Yeah, well, it was between Callum Weir and Dan Field, and thudded into the advertising hoarding as it crossed the ropes. So David Howells has left no one with any doubts about his intentions. He's going to be looking to hit the ball hard. This time it's out to wide mid on. Toby Collins comes across the field, throws it in. Alistair Worsley comes in to back up the bowler. Have to be careful not to throw it into the bowler if it's a B1 and there's no one backing them up, because that can be not very good. Chris, you just asked about injuries. Yes. So sadly, as this wide comes down outside Gerald's leg stump, we had 3 overs from Phil Daniels at the start of the innings from the far end. And on the 5th ball, Adam Solon sort of popped one up into the air, went high but didn't go anywhere. Dan Field ran in from mid-wicket to try and field. The bowler, I think, also tried to get across to it. And I think managed to do his knee. He had a bit of physio from kind of Dan Field, lay on the ground for a bit. Did manage to bowl the last ball of the over, but then went off assisted by Asif Ali. So we hope he's okay. I think Tiny was then thumped by the ball. While concentration on the game was a bit poor because I was concentrating on trying to re-establish YouTube audio. But Tiny obviously is back fine and he's bowling now. So we just hope that Phil Daniels is okay as Northants just reached 50. The over ends with a wide outside the off stump fielded by Simon, and it's 50 for 2 off 9 from Northants. So I think the end of that over is perhaps the first time that their run rate has exceeded the current run rate has exceeded the required run rate. So Current run rate's 5.6. The required is 5.4. And Dave Daniels to bowl the second over. And let's hope he can keep it a bit straighter, because he picked up the wicket, but quite a few ways. That sound was just my disappointment at seeing that the first ball was going wide outside off stump. And my apologies, that's a very, very amateur kind of piece of commentary, isn't it? Ought to try and be a little bit more professional. But I was actually worried that it might hit Mark Oliphant. It didn't quite, but Gerald's stretching for that one. I hope he doesn't stretch too far, otherwise he may do himself an injury as well. It's another wide outside off stump. So again, it does seem to be this problem of the wind gusting across and possibly taking the ball, making it perhaps very difficult for, for anybody to bowl. This one is better. It's back straight by Gerald, very, very straight. Alistair Worsley's across to field from mid-off, but they managed to run through for two. David Howell's young and fast. Gerald, I'm not sure, was as keen with two. He's resting on his back and takes a while to get into his stance. I think he wanted a rest after that running. Plays this one out into the covers. Mark Bond jumps into field, and that's just one. I don't think Gerald was after another quick two at all there. No interest in that. And I think this is the first ball that David Howells will face from Dave Daniels, and it's another wide, again really quite close to Mark Oliphant. Ball comes back. John McLean hands it to Dave Daniels. Okay, he's set himself up. I was going to say it looked from here. Yeah, he's reset himself now. He does seem to be pointing in the right direction. I've just seen that he looked to be pointing a long way down leg side. Well, one wonders if he might be better off pointing a long way down leg side if the ball sort of went the same way relative to where he was pointing, because he's pointing in the right direction and the ball's going outside off. But I'm an observer, not a coach or a player. And that one though is fine. It's outside off stump, but within the lines, it's well fielded by Simon, and that's a dot ball. Approaching the end of the 10th over here. That's on middle stump. It's tucked into the mid wicket area where Dan Field runs in from his deep fielding position to grab the ball, and there's no run. This hits again out into the leg side square, straight to Callum, and this time they do take one run. One ball left in the 10th over, and the score is 58 for 2. And David Howells has got 6, which yeah, sorry, should have mentioned that means he now has 3,000 career runs. So a little milestone for David Howells. 3,000 career runs for David Howells as Dave Daniels sets himself up for this last ball of the 10th over. It's another one that's about halfway between where Mark Oliphant's standing on the line of the fielder exclusion marks and the return crease. So it's another wide. Dave has to set himself up and bowl again. Gerald facing, bats lifted, It's now down. He's in his stance. They bowls. Slightly leg side, taken by Simon. Obviously, all wicket keepers want to stump another wicket keeper, but Gerald had got his bat down, and there was no appeal. There was just the stumps taken down by the keeper. So it's 59 for 2 off 10. 105 now required to win from 20. Gerald's on 30 from 27. David's on 6 from 7. And it's Ian Morris to continue from the far end, the Hugh Spence end of the ground. David Howell's on strike. The field spread deep with him on strike. He plays it out to mid-wicket. It's gone past Dan Field. Dan acknowledges that he's not going to kind of chase it home. It went long way in front of square. Mid-wicket, well, really through kind of cow corner for a boundary 4. Brings David's score up to 10. And the fielders have now gone right back on the boundary on that leg side, and now David plays it much straighter down the ground. Don't think that's going to reach. No tag team fielding between the sub fielder who is on Alistair Worsley and Toby Collins, gets the ball back for 2. David Howells moves on to 12. And so Ian asks Si for a clap. Gets one. Leg side, lofted. He's found the gap between the 2 fielders, Marcus Kipling and Callum Weir. It's a boundary 4. It brings David's score to 16, and that means he now has 3,000 career runs for Northants Steelbacks. I think Hugh mentioned that he's a one-club player who's always played for Northants, never played for anybody else. The reason why he got 3,000 career runs before 3,000 career runs for Northants is because he also plays for England, and he has a few England runs, and that's the difference. And this one, he's lifted a long way. It bounces by the square leg umpire, and therefore it's quite safe, not going to be caught. Callum Weir comes in and fields, and 1 run is scored. So Ian taking a little bit of a pasting off this over. 11 off of 4 balls. He'd given away 13 from his first 2 overs. But he hasn't been bowling wides, at least. And this one is just played by Gerald along the floor, rolls along the floor to Mark Oliphant, and it's a dot ball. Just quickly back to Ian. Comes in, bowls. That's slightly leg side. Gerald brings it down towards fine leg. Callum Weir fields, throws it into Simon. Good throw in. It's 1 run. That is the end of the over, is it? Oh, okay. Well, I think the scorers would have it as the end of the over, but the umpire's given Ian another one. Oh, and he'll have to give him yet another one now, then, won't he? Because that's a wide, a long way down the leg side. Might have been caught by the wind. And as I say, I don't quite understand why that wasn't the end of the over. I thought the umpires and the scorers had walkie-talkies, so the umpires can check with the scorers. And I'm sure I know what the scorers have got, because I'm looking at play cricket. Straight down the pitch, fielded by Alistair Worsley. David did just give a little look to Gerald before coming back for the second, and Gerald's run 2 or 3 yards past the kind of crease. Looks like he's puffing and leaning on his bat again, and pushed to do another quick 2 by David Howells, as Northants reach 74 for 2 off 11. And David Howells up to 19 off just 12 balls, and he's already scored 3 boundaries. And we've had 5 B1 overs, 3 from Ian and 2 from Dave. And it seems to me that Sussex are thinking about a change, and Dave won't be getting a 3rd over. Yes, this is Mr. Bond coming on to bowl. So if you need to break partnerships, then obviously what you need is the mystery spinner, and that is what Mr. Bond has been for Sussex this season. He's got 9 wickets for Sussex all this season, with a best of 3 for 22. You watch him bowl high, loopy ones, and you sort of sometimes think, how does he get away with it? That one's outside, off stump, reversed by Gerald down towards the 3rd man boundary. So doesn't get to the boundary though. It's hauled in by the fielder Matt Greenhoe, and it's 2 scored to Gerald. But yeah, well, when you watch Mark bat, which we didn't get the opportunity to do today as he was out first ball, you sort of think that if somebody was bowling to him the sorts of bowls that he bowls, that he'd be thinking he could hit them all over the place. This one has just been struck straight down in front of us. Alistair Worsley tries to get to it. Don't think he did. There's some chance of boundary. Yes, I didn't quite see it, and I was watching the fielders rather than the umpire, so I didn't see the signal. But the 4 has now come up, so a 4 to Gerald, and so Mark Bond, who was over the wicket, changing his action, coming round the wicket. Well, that did move a long way because it was outside leg and then moved to outside off. It's been hit away firmly just backward of point. Gerald's only interested in running 1, as I think that's Marcus Kipling out there fielding. Ball's now back with Mark Bond, David Howells on strike. Run rate now nearly up to 7, and the required's dropped to 4.5. So we'll be interested to hear Hugh's views in a couple of balls' time, as David Howells just taps the bouncing ball down very gently into the leg side. It doesn't go very far. It goes just past Ian Morris, who's close in. Dan Field has to run in from his fairly deep position to field, and they're able to jog through for an easy signal. Mark Bond, well, my goodness, that was bowled. Yes, he is a spinner. It pitched a long way down leg side. Whether it was the spin or the wind or both, it ended up being nearly wide outside off stump. Anyway, it's a dot ball. It's 82 for 2 off 12, and it's time for some wisdom from you. Go.
Yeah, and it's been a fantastic last 3 or 4 overs for Northants since David Howells has come in. He's normally the aggressor though, but it seems to be Gerald that's taking it on. I've seen some sensible shots by David, but with Gerald, he yeah, as you keep saying, Paul, he only wants to run one or hit a boundary. He's affectionately known in the Northants squad as Grandad because he's in his 40s, but he acts like he's in his 70s when he's running. So he won't want to run too much. But at the moment, Northants on top. But all it takes is a couple of wickets, and Sussex will be right back in it.
And so actually it's a change of ends for Dave Daniels. He's now coming on from the Hughes Ben's end. So let's just see if he finds it easier from that end. That's outside David Howe's leg stump, but not too wide. And Sussex have set up with Mark Oliphant, square, Ian Morris just slightly further away from the batter than him on the leg side. So no close infielder on the offside. And this ball is down towards the offside, taken by Simon, and another dot. So a really good start for Dave from that end. The field though is spread really far and wide. Toby Collins isn't too deep at mid on, but I think a no ball's been called, and it's been thumped very wide of Toby out towards kind of deep long on, sort of cow corner. It's a no ball, and it's 2 runs to David Howells. And ball's now back with Dave Daniels. Outside off stump. This is steered through extra. Mark Bond is across the field, throws in. David Howells has his hand out as if to say to Gerald, why weren't you already running back? Because you seem to have just decided that one was enough. And he's just sort of whirled his hand around as if to say, you know, need to do a bit more. So Gerald just taps it very gently to a very short extra. None of the fielders from the deep run in to get it. Simon Ledwith from behind the stumps chases after the ball and picks it up. Gerald's jogged down to the other end and left David Howells on strike. And this is struck against Mark Oliphant. Danfield chases in to grab the ball. Gerald is just quick enough for him to decide that it's not worth a shy at the stumps, and instead just carries the ball for a couple of yards and then passes it to Simon, who sends it back down the pitch to Dave Daniels. So Gerald on strike for the last ball of the 13th. And he plays that straight down the pitch on the offside, pretty much the line that the ball kind of came down. Simon runs after it to get himself behind the stumps for the next over, passes the ball to Mark Bond, who's perhaps going to continue from this end. So we've now had 6 total overs in 13. So Northants well ahead on bowling their total overs and may now park them for a while, perhaps in favour of try to stem the flow of runs a little. There's a discussion involving Mark Bond, Danfield and Callum Weir about who fields where. Toby Collins is being sent out to deep cover. Alistair Worsley is at long off. Matt Greenoff is at third man, which means that the strongest fielders are now all on the leg side. And I think that's because I know that David Howells is often a very strong leg-sided player. Mark Bond bowls. That's loopy on the leg side. Because if it might have ended up going wide, it didn't in the end. David Howells just gently tapped it square, fielded by Callum. It's 1 run, and Gerald is on strike. Mark Bond, couple of paces, loopy, and Gerald just taps it back down the pitch. Mark Bond fields off his own bowling, no run. Mark wickets maybe because it's loopy, so it's very. This is outside off stump though, hit fairly firmly but straight down to Matt Greenhoff at third man for a single. That one of Mark's actually kept quite a lot lower. It wasn't quite as loopy and bouncing quite as high as a lot of his deliveries. It does mean that it's really easy to get underneath his balls, which means you might get a big shot or you might get caught. David Howells tries to beat him on the onside with an on drive, but Mark Bond's quick enough to get across and field the ball so that it's a dot. Comes in, that's very leggy, but again just pulled itself in and didn't quite become a wide. Callum Weir fields right out on the boundary. Now the umpire is signalling wide. Did he signal that wide before it was hit? We'll have to see what the scorers think of that. It's down as a wide and no runs. Whereas this one was nearly as wide, then moved across and was hit by David in front of the stumps and just played down the pitch to Mark. So this time he reverses it out to point where Toby Collins fields. He goes down on his knees as he grabs the ball, and David Howells is able to come back and complete a second run. That brings up the 50 partnership between these two. You may have thought Gerald was the aggressor. Actually, David's contributed 27 and Gerald 15 to their 51 run partnership. I mean, the thing is that Gerald does have one more boundary than David, but he has been there for the whole of the game. They do both have a strike rate of about 100. Gerald's got 40 off 38. David has 27 off 22. And Dave Daniels to continue, 3 overs so far, 1 for 28. Ian Morris, 3 overs, none for 28. So despite his problems with being able to keep the ball straight from the far end, Dave has been bowling at least as well as Tiny then in this innings, and it may well be that he does bowl 6. Gerald tucks this first one square, fielded by Callum, thrown into Simon, and it's 1 run as Sussex tick towards reaching 100. David Howells just eyeing that leg side, but in fact plays it to wide mid on. Toby Collins fields. Job walks in with the ball to hand it to Dave Daniels, and it's another single. Simon just making sure that Ian Morris is in front of square, because we've got Marcus Kipling at fine leg and Callum Weir at deep square, both behind square on the leg side. So need to avoid no ball for 3 fielders behind square on the leg side. As Dave Daniels bowls for Gerald outside off, hits a point, goes to Mark Bond, asks for a quick throw in, and there is a quick throw in. Simon can't hold it behind the stumps, gets a foot on it. It bounces out to nowhere, but Gerald wasn't interested in coming back for a second, and probably there wasn't a second there. A direct hit, and David Howells might have been in trouble there. I think he probably was in, but it was perhaps closer than he might have liked. And he now hits it out to point, fielded by Mark Bond. All much calmer, that ball though. Mark throwing in gently, Simon able to gather and throw back to where Alistair's supporting Dave Daniels at the far end. And we've had four singles off the over so far, so a really good over this so far from Dave. So I hope the commentator's curse doesn't befall him. And great to see that we're back up to 9 on this stream, despite the fact that we had to restart with the audio falling over. Simon perhaps just checking Tyner's in the right place. Gerald settles into his stance. The ball comes down to him and he plays it straight down the pitch. Yes, absolutely straight down the pitch. Dave can't quite field it off his own bowling, but it doesn't go past him because it hits middle stump. And Dave now has the ball in his hand, sets himself up off the stumps. He's all ready to bowl and comes in. Gerald tucks it down onto the left side. It goes just past Ian Morris. Simon Ledworth scurries across the field, runs down with the ball to the far end, hands it to Roger Barker. That is 15 done, and Drinks, it's 97 for 2, and Drinks will have a word or two from Hugh.
Oh. Yeah, just so you know.
Okay. Yeah, go.
Yeah, so at the moment it's a very, very interesting game. I think Northants would say that they're probably ahead. I think listening to Paul, it's definitely that Northants ahead of the run rate. Interestingly, like I say, I thought Gerald was a bit more attacking, but it seems that David's come out and he's playing a really controlled game. I think with Gerald as well, I think he knows his job. He knows if he can stay there. If Gerald and David are there at the end, then Northampton will win this. But Sussex have still got some very good bowlers that can come out. They've got Dave Daniels. They've got Tiny. They've got a lot of players that can turn this game around. All it takes as well is a couple of wickets, and you've got Si Ledworth, who, as wicketkeeper, he's always on his toes, ready to take a catch and take the wicket. They've got some very good B1s who can take a B1. It's got totals that can take good total catches. So I don't think this game is over just yet, but I think Northants are definitely in the ascendancy. They're all having drinks now, and I think Northants will be saying to each other, just continue what we're doing, take our time, and this is ours to win. Sussex will be saying, let's try a few different things and see if we can turn this game around. But I think with 15 overs left, Northants probably about 70-30 think that this is probably their game. But as we all know in blind cricket, a couple of wickets and the game will change, because you get to the lower order and you get to the ones that can't score as fast as maybe Gerald and David. So we're in for a very interesting last 15. I'll hand you back to Paul.
Thank you, Hugh. Yes, so the game poised because, as Hugh said, there's plenty of bowling to come. Actually, Sussex have bowled 7 of the 9 B1 overs they need to bowl in the first 15. So they've only got to bowl 2 totally blind player B1 overs in the second half of the game, which means they should be able to kind of restrict the rate. We will have to wait and see what happens with Phil Daniels. I'm sure they'll be very disappointed if he's not able to come back and complete his bowling, because as I said earlier, he has got most wickets for Sussex this season. He had 16 before today, and he picked up that one before he was injured and had to go off. So yeah, obviously kind of very frustrating for him unless he can kind of come back. Also he has a fantastic economy at under 4, which is better than any of the other Sussex bowlers. And as I mentioned earlier, Sussex might just feel that they would have liked Joe Harrison or Alex Towers to be available for today, both of whom bowl very well for them. But Danfield hasn't brought himself on yet. He's certainly a very useful bowler. He's got 170 Sussex wickets. He's got a best of 4 for 4. Actually, he's achieved twice, and his economy is only around 5.5. So, yes, very much all to play for. But 97 for 2 at halfway, 67 needed in the second half of the game. So yes, if Northants just backed sensibly, they must feel they've got a reasonable chance of getting home. But yes, put 2 wickets on that. Whether it's cricket or blind cricket, put 2 wickets on it, and it looks very different. So, in particular in blind cricket, because if you put 2 wickets on it, Northants will have their second totally blind B1 batter in, and their first totally blind batter managed just the 1 scoring shot from 27 balls. If you can make that happen again with somebody else in, you can certainly slow the scoring rate quite easily. It's Mark Bond anyway to continue from this end. He's bowled 2 overs so far for 13. Bowling to David Howells, and interestingly, Tony Morris has moved deeper at mid-wicket. And David Howells reverses to point. Toby Collins fumbles. David Howells sort of seems to say to Gerald, "Well, aren't we getting 2?" Gerald says, "No, I'm kind of quite happy with where I am." He's just asking the umpire to reset his guards, which I think he's taking on middle. It certainly is the case that with this wind blowing, Mark Bond is really off on most occasions. It's high and loopy with spin on it. Gerald gets on that one and flat bats it down to wide mid on. It's fielded by Marcus Kipling for 1. To bring David Howells back onto strike. That's very wide outside off stump, and it's a wide. So for the second time today, I believe, a batter has been denied the opportunity of bringing up the 100 because that's gone to Mr. Wide. And this one bounces outside off stump, driven through extra cover by David Howells. Beats Alistair Wesley to the boundary. It's a boundary 4. David Howells now has caught up Gerald on boundaries. They both got 4. And it's 104 for 2. Again, starts outside leg, moves to outside off. This time it's a long drive, much straighter, straight at Alistair Worsley, and that's 1 run to David Howells. Ball back with Mark Bond. Gerald chases one which was drifting a long way wide, plays it out towards cover, takes one. Not interested in more than one. Tony Collins fields. Mark Bond runs out a long way to kind of collect his throw and carry it back to his mark. Last ball of the 16th coming up as he bowls to David Howells. Much straighter ball this time and thump straight down the ground with his hand. That might have been a caught and bowl chance, but anyway, it is actually a dot. It's 106 for 2 off 16. Gerald neatly has 44 off 44, and Tani Patel from India. Hello, you are listening to Guy Cricket from Northampton County Cricket. It's a big ball, but the game looks rather more like red ball cricket, and we've got a totally blind bowler on at the far end, who's just about to start his 5th over, bowling to Gerald Porter, one of the Northampton openers, who's been there from the beginning and is not out 44 from 44. The skipper's waving the umpire away from him. Down the field, Sussex skipper is just kneeling down next to him. This is, well, I don't know. I would say this is kind of close to unprecedented, really, because this now seems to be, we've had 3 players down looking injured, and lots of times I go to blind cricket matches and there's no one hurt, no one injured, and certainly if there was, there would be nothing anyone could do about it at all. Sussex do have a 13th player. They have a low partial, but I think they may prefer to keep Toby on for his sight, if not for his speed and mobility, and he seems to be all right. He's just holding the upper part of his right arm a little, so whether that was jarred by the ball as he tried to turn that into a catch, I don't know. It was a single to Gerald anyway, so David Howells, the Northend skipper, is now on strike, and he plays it much nearer into mid-wicket. Down the field, sprints in to field the ball. I'm not sure whether it was just the speed. I think it was probably the speed that he was going, plus perhaps a little puff of wind, meant his cap came off after about 3 or 4 paces as he raced in to get the ball and ensure that it was only 1 to David Howells. Dave Daniels, wideish outside off stump and called wide by the umpire. And Hassan from England. I apologise if the audio is distorted. I don't think we're too far away from the mic. I don't know. Nobody's told me the ground mic isn't okay, as that's a single to Gerald down to fine leg. Anyway, it's really nice to have you with us, Hassan. We'll give you our best. We'll give you our best possible. As Dave Daniels bowls to David Howells, who thumps it leg side straight into Mark Oliphant. It then runs away down to third man, where Simon's after it, throws it in, knocks the stumps over. But Gerald had been standing well inside his ground, not interested in doing anything silly like trying to take a second. He's now just standing, looking at the other end, swirling his bat, taking a look at the field as they reset themselves. giving himself plenty of time before the next ball is bowled, and it comes down from Dave wide outside off stump and signalled as such. And for the first time in the game, the run rate required drops just below 4. Daniels bowls. This is outside leg. It's down to fine leg. Fielded by Marcus Kipling. Good throw in for Simon Ledwith. Really good throw in. 1 run to Gerald. Daniels about to complete his 5th over. And he's bowled very well since switching ends and coming on from that far end. He really struggled from this pavilion end, and his last ball of the over is defended down the pitch by David Howells. It's a dot, and so we are 113 for 2 off 17. Gerald keeping his score running, his strike rate running at 100. He's 47 off 47. Yeah, I don't know why the audio goes in and out, guys. YouTube obviously just like video and don't like audio or something. I always thought that audio was easier to deal with than video, but there we are. That's what you get when you have an old grandad trying to do these clever new tech things. Oh, and somebody just seems to have thrown either a white cricket ball or an international cricket ball onto the pitch at this end of the ground. And are we just going to leave it there? No, somebody's sprinting on to get it as Mark Bond bowls to Gerald, who sizes it up and hits it strongly backward of square, but it's not reaching the boundary with Callum Weir fielding. He gets there, throws it in. Gerald has, though, managed to run 2 this time. That takes him to just 1 away from a 50. As he crouches down over his bat, waiting for Mark Bond to come in and bowl. That one moves away a long way, and it ends up being wide outside off stump. Yes, I see it's a couple of Northants players who I think are playing with an international ball off the edge of the pitch. Gerald just dinks this bouncing one into the leg side. Callum Weir comes in and fields. It's 50 for Gerald. It's just under a runner ball. It's off 49 balls. It's a well-constructed knock from Gerald. He raises his bat in acknowledgement, as everybody at the ground is aware that he's got to 50. And Mark Bond changing from round the wicket to coming over the wicket with David Howells on strike. It's still a long way down leg side initially, straightens up a great deal. David Howells just steps inside the line, plays it calmly down towards mid-on. It doesn't reach mid-on, which is where Marcus is fielding deep, because Mark Bond comes across the field off his own bowling. Very straight this time. It's an on drive. It's Alistair Worsley who fields at mid-on, throws it into Mark. It's 1 run to David. And Mark Bond about to finish his 4th over. A couple of balls left in the 18th. And, it's wideish outside off stump. It's Gerald looks to kind of try and drive it through mid-on, but Mark Bond's across to field off his own bowling and create a dot ball. So the last ball of his 4th over. outside off, driven straight to Danfield in the covers, throws it in strongly to Simon, but David Howells easily through for the single to bring the score to 119 for 2 off 18. Northants need another 45 runs from the remaining 12 overs, and it's time for a word from Hugh as we get up to 13 listeners again. Go.
Yeah, and that's an absolutely fantastic 50 from Gerald. He obviously came in, he opened, and he's just taken his time. He's looked for the right shots. Him and David seem to be making a great partnership out there. If Sussex can break this partnership, then that'll bring Asif Ali in, and then but if they can't, David and Gerald can David and Gerald are more than able to carry on and to get the 45 runs they need. But Sussex will be hoping for a wicket or two, and then, like Paul said earlier, that brings in another total player, which will bring the scoring rate down a lot. It'll probably be Mark Turnham, but at the moment, Northants in the driving seat, but never rule out league champions Sussex.
And we have Dave Daniels on to complete his 6th over, and the first ball was just tucked into the leg side by Gerald, fielded by Danfield, and this one's outside off, driven down to mid off by David Howells, fielded by Alistair Worsley, who sprints in with the ball to the stumps to give it to Dave and make sure it's definitely just kept to the 1 run. David Howells has now moved on to 39. Daniels bowls, Gerald plays that out into the covers, and this time both batters are just content to jog through for 1. Alistair Worsley has to run in quite a long way from his position at mid-off to field that one in the covers, not on the point, too far away to get hold of it. David Howells plays this to point, it sort of spins away from Mark Bond, and this time David Howells hasn't looked to run the first one hard and come back for 2. I think he thought it was definitely too close to Mark. It was very close, but Mark was done a little by the spin, which just moved it away for a fraction. So Gerald back on strike. Daniels, who's, as I say, been very tidy from that Hugh Spence into the ground. Oh, and then you say he's been very tidy, and he bowled a wide outside off stump. And that can't be the win from that end, because the win from that end ought to bring it in if it's outside off. So Simon crouches behind the stumps, waiting for the ball to come. This one is leg side. It's up in the air. Oh, and it's dropped between Simon and Callum Weir. Yeah, it wasn't really a chance, because it was tickled round the corner to sort of 45 high in the air, but it was always going to be landing between the fielders. Gerald able to get up the other end to watch the end of Dave Daniels' spell, which is this one that David Howells just plays out gently into the covers. Mark Bond picks it up on the covered strip in the centre that's obviously being kept for a Northants fixture. It's yet another single, so 7 off that over from Dave Daniels, and 126 for 2 is the score. Dave Daniels has bowled 6 overs, 1 for 46. That means that Sussex have bowled all their required B1 overs. So in the 11 overs remaining can now all be bowled by partial bowlers. Marcus Kipling has got 3. I would think, having opened, that he will bowl out. Phil Daniels may be limited to 3. Mark Bond's got a couple left, and perhaps Dan Field will bring himself on to bowl the remainder. We will have to wait and see, because from this end, it's Mark Bond bowling to David Howells, who drives mid-on. Alistair Worsley slightly wrong-footed. He thought the ball was going to his right. It went to his left. So he was undone in the flight, and it's come down across the boundary ropes in front of us here in the pavilion for another boundary to David Howells, who now has one more boundary than Gerald. He's got 5. Gerald has 4. Mark Bonds again outside off. David Howells looking to play through the covers. Dan Field was itching for the ball to be in the air and give him a catch, but he missed entirely. It went through to Simon, who fielded it outside off. Well, outside off. But not wide enough to be wide. A touch and go one, and Mark Bond gets the benefit, whereas Dave Daniels, when he was bowling from this end, didn't get the benefit. This time it's leg side, and David Howells just waits for it and takes it very, very fine. It goes down almost to the boundary, doesn't quite get across. Tony Collins fields. It's 2 more to David Howells. As that went almost straight behind him, wicketkeeper not able to block it. This one is wide outside the off stump. Simon coming across to collect and throw it back. And Northants have ticked the required rate down now to 3. So certainly if these 2 stay in, you think they're going to win. That's a long way outside leg stump. David Howells says, "Thank you very much." Lofts a 6 over square leg. That brings up his 50. He moves to 53 from 41 deliveries with that 1 6 and 5 other boundaries. It means he will get a place on the honours board, and with his catches as well today, and his captaincy, of course, it must make him a strong contender for partially sighted player of the match. And then he gets a bouncy one and just pads it down gently past the leg side B1 fielders into the vacant space. Mark Bond fields off his own bowling. He takes 1 run. It's 140 for 2 off 20. And there are 24 required to win from the last 10 overs. So, as Hugh has said, now is the time for Sussex to take a wicket or 2. And even then, it may be a little bit of a struggle unless they get both of these now set batters out. They're both on 54, so 2 batters on 54, and it is Dan Field bringing himself on from the Hugh Spence end, and it may be then that he will look to bowl through from that end, although that would only allow him to bowl 5. Mark Bond's got 1, Marcus Kipling has got 3. Phil Daniels is still off the field, and David Howells says, "Thank you very much," as Dan bowls the first one fairly straight, and he just thumps it just in front of square leg, and it made a big thudding sound as it hit the cinch boundary boards just that couple of yards beyond the rope, away over there to our left. And that's 102 run partnership now between these 2. And this is in the air though. Callum's getting there. It just evades him. it just evades him. I think he's disappointed. His throw-in wasn't kind of great, but David's happy with just 2 anyway. There are 18 now needed to win. David Howes looks as if he's in a hurry to kind of get them all. I think that might have been. It is a no ball. It's been pulled well in front of square through cow corner for a boundary, and David has suddenly leapt ahead of Gerald as 150 comes up for Northants in the 21st over. 11 off 3 balls, so 13 now, just 13 now needed to win. Dan bowls, and again it's hoisted, and this time it's 1 bounce into the boundary boards, but that 1 bounce was over the rope and then up onto the boundary boards at deep mid wicket, and Dan saying to Toby Collins, you need to stay right out on the rope. 157 for 2, 7 runs needed for Northants to pull off a cup win. This is in the air though. Is it going to go over Callum's head again? He gets his hands on it and he can only knock it over the rope at square leg. Oh, Simon Ledworth is down on his knees. It was in the air. It was there to be caught. Callum got himself underneath it. It was very high and dropping. All he could do was get hands on it and knock it over the rope. And all of a sudden, it looks as if Northants could win this in the 21st over. And we thought this was going to go all the way. This is struck out towards deep mid wicket. Toby Collins on the boundary, fields and throws it in. They had scored 2. So 1 ball left in the 21st. The scores are level. The fielders are all now coming in. There's no point saving boundaries anymore. It's difficult to think that there can be any other than one result from this game. Now, David Howes lofts it. I think that has gone all the way. Yes, it's a boundary 6 over deep square leg to end the Northants innings and end the match. It's a fantastic victory for Northants. They must be really pleased with this. I think we said on commentary that we thought that Sussex were potentially the favourites for today. Sussex can still do a double. They can still do the league and the T20 Cup, but this will be hugely encouraging to Northants, who have to play Lancashire in a couple of weeks' time in the relegation battle in Division 1. Thank you very much for listening. If you enjoy disability cricket, there is more disability cricket. The ECB Disability Premier League is on tomorrow and next Saturday. That's on their YouTube channel. I bet they don't have any problem with the audio dropping out because they've got professionals. But thank you very much for listening for us, and I'll just hand over to Hugh for some closing remarks. Go.
Yeah, it's an absolutely fantastic victory for Northants, and it's great that David Howes was able to put them over the edge. Like I said earlier, David is a one club man. He became captain a couple of years ago. I know it really hurt him when Northants lost against Sussex in the rearranged final last year that we played over this year. So for him to bring his side over the line, and for it to be in Northamptonshire, you can hear the celebrations out there. They're all cheering. They're all happy. Fantastic. Commiserations to Sussex. But again, we'll see both of these teams at T20 Finals Day. But for today, commiserations to Sussex, and congratulations to the 2024 BCEW David Town.
No, Heinrich Swanepoel.
Heinrich Swanepoel Cups. I knew I'd get that wrong. It's Heinrich Swanepoel Cup. Northampton Sheer Steelbacks. Congratulations and thank you for listening.
Yep, thanks very much, guys. There will be commentary from T20 Finals Day on this YouTube channel, so do let people know how to kind of find it. I will try and set up several streams so that we can kind of make sure that it's not too difficult to follow should the audio drop out again. I think that's the only way to kind of try and make it work. I apologise for the technical problems. Thank you very much for listening. Do enjoy the rest of your Saturday. You can now concentrate fully on England against Sri Lanka. Goodbye.
I know I'd get wrong what cup it was.